So this is a really special night. We're very lucky to be able to book this. We've been doing Third Thursday Poetry at the Flamingo Sports Bar since January, and ironically enough, this is the third Thursday of the month. It's also historically significant because October 21st marks the day in 1969 where Jack Kerouac left this earth at St. Anthony's Hospital here in St. Petersburg. And so we're honoring him with a celebration of life, along with the theme of Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. We were able to do this last year as a behind doors, like poets only event due to COVID, and we put it online for a Zoom event. So this is much more special. We have the energy of the audience in the house. We have an accompanying musician. We've got Johnny White with us tonight. This was a piece that Kerouac wrote in 1955 when he was living in Mexico City with William S. Burroughs. So it's a collection of 242 choruses or cantos. They're short poems, and it's going to be really fun to see which one of these cantos. Some of our readers are going to read one, some will read three, some will combine an original piece with it. Our readers come from diverse backgrounds, and we're really excited to have them as members of the community. Passionate writers, local poets, award-winning authors. We've got bloggers in the house, we've got journalists, we've got professors. So it's going to be a really fun evening, and thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you for your patience. We're going to go ahead and get the festivities started. All right, so we're going to start ladies first. Skyla Luckey, welcome to the stage.
So I'm going to read 3 poems of Jack's. So the first one is 178th Chorus. Put the blame on intelligence. The reason? No, not the bloody reason. The ass-kissed, burned Chicago put-down talk of time. Who was it maimed the rescue and made the mistake? And held the loft and lost and got lost and knew nothing. What knew the blame? Who put the blame? Who's trying to throw me out? Who am I? Do I exist? I don't even exist anyhow. The next one is 179th Chorus. Yes, get those. Come on, you guys. Keep looking out. Get the mood in. Oh, yeah. There you go. When I saw Glenn Miller on this, it was just calling to my heart. I said, oh, Glenn Miller's mentioned. Totally reading this one. Glenn Miller and I were heroes when it was discovered that I was the most beautiful boy of my generation. They told Glenn Miller, whereby he got inspired and wrote the saxophone, wrote the reed sections like Sauter, Grain, and Finn. And then they all did dance and kissed me, mooning stars, and I became the yokum of the wall gang, flowers, and believed in truth and love, the snowy earth, and had no truck and no responsibility. A bhikkhu in my heart waiting for philosophy's dreadful murderer, Buddha. Oh, poor Buddha. That was kind of a stab to Buddha, I guess. I don't know. Kind of has the feeling of, when you're young and you're naive and you've never had your heart broken before. Kind of has that feeling, of, oh, I believe that now. And then at the end, it's like, oh, never mind. Forever love might not exist. All right, this is the last one for me. This is 216A Chorus. Fuck, I'm tired of this imagery. I want to quit this horse shit, go home and go to bed. But I got no home, sick of bed, suck a toodle, wanna lead, bondalanda, rala sick to my bella, donna, I'm a goner, soner, loner, moaner, pone, corn belly, no loan, ack, crack. I'm sick of this misery, posy, flop.
So the next poet that I wanted to bring to stage has a collection of poems in the raffle, and is also the poet laureate of the city of Gulfport, Rob McCabe. Yeah, Rob!
I'm going to read one poem by Jack Kerouac, and I'm writing a response poem because they told me I could write a response poem to one of Jack Kerouac's poems. Well, that's redundant. Anyway, I'm reading the 13th chorus. I caught a cold from the sun when they tore my heart out at the top of the pyramid. Oh, the ruddle tooty blooty window poopies of Phila town that rust at noon when priests dared to lick their lips over my thumping meat heart. The sacrilegious beasts ate me 10,000 million times, and I came back spitting pulque in Baracho, orc saloons of old sour Azteca. Asking for more, I popped out of Papacata Pedal's hungry mouth.
That's a hard
Gracias. Mexico City, Dia de los Muertos, 1954. Everywhere he looks, symbols of death. Men in skeletal costumes, women dressed in black. Joyous music, the deafening sound of fireworks fill the air. Sugar skull candies, skeletal cookies, puppet shows. People come from everywhere to celebrate both life and death. Altars for those who have passed on, cleaning rituals, and picnics in the cemetery. Everyone's happy. Everyone but the writer, who sits alone in the cantina drinking copious amounts of tequila. Alone because his friends, Lee and Alan, have left to explore the country, leaving him to write. But he has destroyed his journals filled with memories. He lacerates himself with memories of past lovers, his dead brother. A woman dressed in white slowly walks by. Tu vas matar sus niños, sus poemas, she whispers to him. Stops, then shrieks. No one else sees or hears her as he pours another drink, pulls out a pen and an empty notebook, and begins to write.
All right.
Thank you. Just to let you know, the woman in white is La Llorona. She's a Mexican legend about a woman crying when she kills people by the river. And so, tu matas tus niños means you've killed your children, your poems. But she actually killed her children, drowned them in the water. And she's believed to be wandering around Mexico by the rivers, so cuidado when you go to the rivers, okay? Thank you.
So I wanted to bring a local poet to the stage who, despite having visited 24 countries on 5 continents, has never been to Mexico. But I've gotten to know Captain Mel, Jon Meliferas, at poetry readings. He also was a reader last March when we did the birthday celebration for Kerouac at Hops and Props. So John, welcome to the stage, Captain Mel.
Hola.
Hola.
¿Qué pasa?
¿Qué pasó, hermano?
It's the 6th chorus. This thinking is stopped. Buddha's secret moonlight is the ancient virtue of laying up and thinking happy and comfortable thoughts. This, which modern society has branded loafing, is made available to people now apparently only by junk. Self depends on existence of other self, and so no solo universal self exists. No self, no other self, no innumerable selves, no universal self, and no ideas relating to existence or non-existence thereof. The greatest, who has undertaken to comfort innumerable beings, the kind one, the art of kindness master, the master of wisdom, the great ferryman, the great vehicle being. Like Skyla, I looked through the poems and found something that resonated with me. You mentioned Captain Mel, so I'm also a sailboat captain. And so when I saw the one that had sailing in it, I'm like, well, I'm gonna read that one. And then I was like, Teotihuacan, one, how do you pronounce that? And it took me a while to make sure I didn't screw it up, so hopefully I don't do it in reading. And then Teotihuacan is an interesting place, 30, 40 miles northeast of modern Mexico City. And so Jack Kerouac obviously learned about it while he was down there, and it's an interesting city if you're not familiar with your ancient Mesoamerican culture. At one time it was 100,000 people about 2,000 years ago. And there's an avenue of the dead that leads to the Temple of the Moon, there's a Temple of the Sun, and it was a great architectural creation, across the board. So that's Teotihuacan. And this is the 14th chorus. And when they saw me rowing my sailing canoe across the lake of dreams in the Lotus Valley swamp, and arrested me for the size of my heart, 'tis then I decided, don't come back. They'll eat your heart alive every time. But there's more blood I shed out of my pumping heart at Teotihuacan and everywhere else, including Turban Block, Lookout, Ort. I got more water pissed in the ocean as a sailor of the several seas than Sallow's aphorism will allow. And then tried to write one of my own. In the style of a little bit of Kerouac, in the theme of choruses, and a little bit of on that last poem. And I call this one the Funeral Chorus of Teotihuacan. Take me to death, down the avenue and into an afterlife coronation. Sacrifice is death, purposeful, energetic resignation. Down the avenue and into the infinite consecration. Below the black diamond tapestry, beneath the green jungle blanket, under brown forest floorboard, down the labyrinths of the underworld. In the labyrinth lakes, the tides ebb and rise, dark to light, from peace to war, spilling the blood of ourselves and the jaguar. The sun and moon rise and fall, pendulums marking time over life and death.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
Well, this is a great opportunity. Thank you, James, and everybody in the Friends of Jack Kerouac group. Donnie and I have been team teaching a course this semester that really takes into consideration Kerouac's Buddhism and also a lot of the influences that the Beats took on Black diasporic practices, poetics, indigenous teachings, sacred plants. A lot of things have been swirling around in this class, and so Donnie and I are gonna create a little sheet bend or some kind of a knot like that between the 11th chorus, the 199th, and other materials that are going to happen.
Yo me encantaría las cantas.
Brown wrote a book called The White and the Black. Narcotic City, switching on. Anger falls. Musician stops, brooding on the bandstand.
Empty balloons of gorgeous, wild up skies bedazzling radiant, immense arcades of secret joy, caves of light, Yavingo, dream material palaces high in the texture of the high thought, Nirvana, heaven, X, what you call them? Swear. Huge milky areas of silence permeated by rose petals, crushed in diamond vats, great baths of glory, singing quiet home sound, white light of black eternity, white light of black eternity, golden secret figures of unimaginable, inexpressible flowers, blooming in the one own mind essence. You teach me songs to Oshun, and I say it's alright. You teach me that Psalm 35 rants no hate when it sings resistance and protection. You teach me that Mama Lola, the great voodoo priestess of Brooklyn, heals with sacred societal love medicine, not individualistic solutions. You teach me about Gaspar Yanga, the stolen prince, who stole through the highlands of Veracruz to the peak of Star Mountain, and that there was another carpenter named Denmark Vesey, who made shades of wood pamphlets while Scooby-Doo villains destroyed documents and later misplaced various skulls said to be gnats. You teach me that the train already been running through the new Angola all the way across and through the multiverse, gate, Patterson, gate, holy spa. Does this freedom train have to run through whiteness? It seems to have to, again today. Granny wisdom moaning, intricate breath braids woven from pith threads. You even taught me what your mother said. You said that a Balata man is his own mind, and you know. You say your toolmaker ancestors also went into the mangroves to grow rice and salt water. Try and curry fry that, future man with technocrat. I bet you would try. Imagine being a mangrove guy. Fiddler on the taps in a regular tapping across sacred psalter. Riveting wavelets lapping the mother's note of the mangrove funk. Fringing estuarine gradient packing trunk. Aperiodic heron wings. Kerfuffle flapping. Bass and breakfast with a champion in sweet. Crystalline drumming on crackling upside down hull. Flash of light within smile stuck skull. Tempo clicks you can't predict. Spark into whole electric lady of charity bedsheet. The excluded salt plastered plastic distressed clunk of ice chunks shattering. Surface scattering diamond love tron dunk gym arpelago. Never boys timber antennae in complete fidelity to the wind on water. Pushes into the multi not quite salty infinite breathing tubular. Dangling viviparous property. Embrace. Lintel, fintel, strap, prop, and cable, net nutrient carbon flux round the center of your still saltern. And we teach his songs to Oshun, and we say it's alright. And we wonder, what if the long string of rhyme of the aromal singer, sage lawmaker runs some threads through each one of us. Roof-taking, work-making, picking up and taking off strings, disposed to help memory and patch meanings on our delighted silky green sleeves, hinting and teasing that non-semantic but pragmatic, unspeakable work of sound itself in the utterance. Just imagine cats cradling by the candlelight in a cave with Miles. Just imagine it. He would probably say, if you understood everything I said, you'd be me. And then he'd probably make you feel that with silence. You'll find your own intermediate horn, lama, pranayama. But here's a question for you. What is the meaning of all this when 4 is really 6?
There were not 4, but 6. But what are 2 more lives but 2 more alive when you've suckled at the breasts of niggas ain't shit? At the length of so what stretch to glad they ain't missed. No longer children, just potential niggas. 2 less toxic, 2 shots to lessen the risk. Can you imagine 2 little boys? 4 proper names, a 5th with Lamar, 29 combined years, not killed in a car in a plane crash overdose of our spiteful lover. Their only weapon, genetics, the colonial threat of the other. A paper boy shot on his bike with his brother. 16 like the name of the street that the gods bombed out house. The weapons formed against Johnny Prosper, though this the day that God called out. How can it be seen if the market didn't miss, or perhaps Virgil that day was the truest Christ? His cheeks betrayed by a bullet's kiss. History dismissed. Pain. Why should there not be bliss? With 2 less niggas to lessen the game. Taught as we should be to say their name, both Carol and Carol, Cynthia and Addie Mae. A love that forgives, the sermon of the day. But of Johnny and Virgil, silence carries the say and carries the day into the carriage of night. Reaches and teaches us. Reaching what teach is us. We keep what's keeping us. We teach what's reaching us. Keep teaching us, being us. Keep being what we teach as such. Keep seeing what we teach is just. Keep being what we teach and trust. Amnesia is what enriches us. Amnesia is what enriches us. Amnesia is what enriches us. The autumn of existence never misses us. Your fall is falling and greeting us. A word from the past is a fleeting must. See, I heard them. Johnny and Virgil both, they took and told me how they justified their dreams. Say, what they say is lightning don't strike twice. They say to me, hell, it would be nice to stop living in a dream again. They ask me about my dreams. I tell them that my dreams are walking, breathing, thinking, feeling, knowing that they need so desperately to be held. Your brother, my dreams are like their master, both looking to feel that feeling one more time, both seeing through eyes educated and blind, the future coming faster. But I guess that's dreaming for you. I guess that's your reward for feeling. Cash mine in though, brother, because it's all worth it. I guess my solace comes in knowing that I ain't scared even a little bit to dare to dream and to dare wish my dreams peace be real. I guess my sanity comes in thinking that maybe if I dream hard enough, you two will join me in my dream and we will be free to justify our dreams together. The autumn of life is ours to behold. When leaves grown yellow or none or few do hang, our hearts' wintry boughs lie shaking in the cold. A tune of silence now, where our beloved sisters sang. In them is seen the twilight of the day, as after the sun takes its daily solace in the west, which by nature's passing night does take away. We, blinded to the sounds of our sons, the silence of men seeking embers of love's promising fire that within the ashes of Stargate does lie, as with this abode wherein it must expire. It takes to Africa whom it was nourished by. So evident is Africa's love. So evident is Africa's love. So evident is Africa love, which makes our love for her grow stronger. Her love manifest immortal be to live an eternity's long and longer. There weren't 4, but 6. But what are 2 more lives but 2 more alive when you suckled at the breast of niggas ain't shit and black boys ain't shit if a check he can't get? See the sonogram say, see grandma say, see mama say, see auntie say, see sister say, see girlfriend say, he's just like his dad. And the length of so what stretched to glad they ain't miss. No longer children, just potential niggas. 2 less toxic, 2 shots to lessen the risk. Thank you.
Wow. You ever just hear something that makes you well up? Donnie, Trey, thank you. Powerful. Might be a good time to take an intermission, or we can have one more poet on the stage. Yeah, we'll take an intermission. Collect ourselves for another rich tapestry of poetry as we come back to the second half of the performance.
So the poem that I selected tonight kind of represents everything I love about poetry, which is odd specificity and kind of opening up or literally filleting the kind of thing that I've always been curious about and that natural scientists have been curious about for eternity, and that is eels. The freshwater eels of Europe, they climb up their rivers and presumably raid fjords and eat up pools, curious Proustian visitors from up the mountain of the sea, which, when they die, they recrossed to Bermuda, from whence they came to die. Must be that these eel have a yen to explore the veins of old Atlantis from their sunken mountaintop. This side, Canarius, but no, they slide from Europe to Ukraine and down the Belgian rivers, and blankly in the void swim back to spawn and die with long-faced pouts. Poor fish. So that poem really I don't know if anyone's read the Book of Eels. Yeah, it's fantastic. Scientists have never observed eels mating, and there's a fantastic quote from that book which appears in my poem, which is a response to that one, which made me wonder how would Kerouac have written that if he had eel SEO. European eels, critically endangered, glassy bodies writhing in river basket traps. Their deaths are of significant economic value. An abstract eel is the phrase, come what may. Mucus-laden reef creepers with unobserved and mutant mating habits, mud-burrowing backwards swimmers, its testicles the holy grail of natural science, according to the Book of Eels. A poor fish for 80 years, feasted on by the parasites and other intestinal metazoans. What is an eel in daydreams? The cure for a moray eel bite, a superficial wound, involves pressure, antibacterial ointment, sterile bandages, and at-home pain relievers. Consider the moray's second set of jaws, clamping, grinding, snapping blindly in oblivion so it may swallow. This is an eel, according to Google. Eel-Wikipedia has the best SEO. If you write eel and hit enter, you will learn people also ask, is it safe to eat eel? Is eel a fish or snake? Do eels bite? Its top news story. Researchers name ancient eel-like species after Black Sabbath guitarist. This is how it travels as a search term. Pity the fish.
Wow.
All right, so our next poet has done multiple shows here at Studio 620 and an organizer of poetry gatherings extraordinaire. Also runs a poetry event first Thursdays at Hawthorne Bottle Shop. And that is Miesha Brundridge.
Thanks, Jen. All right, you ready, Jon?
Ready for it.
Star-Spangled Kingdom, bedecked in dewy joint. Don't ignore other parts of your mind, I think. And my clever brain sends ripples of amusement through my leg nerve halls. And I remember the zigzag original mind of babyhood. When you'll let the faces crack and mock and yak and change and go madly, utterly in your night. First mind, reveries. Talking about the mind, the endless, not invisible, madness, rioting everywhere. 17. I'm gonna read 25 next. I like 25. It talks about death a little bit, which is not anything funny or about that at all. But once you spend 6 years in the military and you've endured countless attacks where your life is pretty much, over at any given time, then the word death kind of becomes a little funny to people who served in the military because, hell, every day, that's what's on the line. So, yeah.
Thank you for your service.
All right, thank you. Don't worry about death. Once you're there, because it's trackless. Having no track to follow, you will rest where you are. Inside of the essence. But the moment I say essence, draw the word back. And that remark, essence, unspoken, you can't say a word. Essence is the word for the finger, and I think you know what that means. That shows us bright blankness. When we look into God's face, we see radiant iridation. From mindless center of objectless fire rolling in a field star all its own. Is my own? Is your own? Is not owned by self-owner, but found by self-loser? Old ancient teaching, 25th chorus. Alright, so I have a poem I wrote myself called Time, and alright, time. Time is never the same, always unchanging. As it holds the same damn 25 hours, I say 24, I got 25. As each hour unfolds a different lesson, every hour is life-changing. Time, never getting back. Birthdays are hell a reminder of the purpose we still have yet to do, and a lesson that we have not yet finished. As an older person told me in a poem to younger people, I'm older now, and gray has taken my black hairs, and wisdom has grayed my eyes, and lessons I've learned back when times were different, but the lessons you have learned came quicker. Let me say this, I won't take away your years if you don't take away mine. Thank you. Thank you, Johnny.
All right, so the next poet that I wanted to bring up on the stage is Greg Byrd.
We're going to keep going down into the subconscious, into the transcendental inner mind, into death and disease. I'm going to read 110th chorus and then take a brief pause and slide into my riff on that. I know how to withstand poison and sickness known to man in this void. I'm no apprentice when it comes to remembering the eternity of suffering. Quietly I've been through without complaint, sensing inside pain, the gloriful mystery. Afternoons as a kid, I'd listen to radio programs to see the scratch between announcements, knowing the invalid is glad only because he's mad, enough to appreciate every little thing that blazons there in the storm of his eye, transcendental inner mind, where glorious, radiant howdahs are being carried by elephants through groves of flowing milk, past paradises of waterfall into the valley of bright gems, the rubying an antique ocean floor of undiscovered splendor in the heart of unhappiness. In the clutches of chemo, I sat in meditation on my own Caesar bench, sought a center and fell unceasingly inwards, collapsing star with no event horizon, immeasurable well of gravity and that night was visited by deadheads floating along the moats behind eyelids that leered closer and sinister. You will die, motherfucker. And I looked into them, smiled and laughed, and each broke into a dozen hibiscus blooms, sugar skulls. In the class of Master Meinke, I read poems Paul Jouyet wrote while dying in a farmhouse in Dordogne. Same lymphoma I battled, but I unearthed Paul's ancient poem swords, slashed with sprung rhythm, lines, and alexandrines down in Gilgamesh's secret pond, where I found the thorny plant of life that I keep bleeding on the page until the ageless serpent comes to swallow it whole.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, each of the readers, for coming up here and speaking your truth. All right. So I don't know if we got a little bit of a rivalry going on here. Tom, do you want to come up here next? Tom Hallock, member of the board, USF professor, spent some time teaching in Puebla. Tom, the stage is yours.
A couple of years ago, I had the good luck to teach in San Andres de Cholula, the oldest city in North America. And I taught in fall 2019. I was teaching advanced composition, and so I assigned the classic essay topic, write about a cultural event that's important to you. And of course, with 35 students, I got 25 essays about Dia de Muertos. And so I became very knowledgeable about Dia de Muertos. And I learned that the purpose is to bring the person back, of course, from the dead, a different attitude towards life and death. You follow the scent of the, these don't really, they don't smell as rich as they do in Mexico, but you follow the scent of the Flor de Muertos. One of the things that I learned is it's really about making peace with your family. You know, Kerouac, not a savory fellow when you know a lot about him. And
That's right.
and you know, but the thing I learned is I was talking to one of my students, and they had an uncle who was an alcoholic. And they said, okay, do you put out a shot glass for your uncle? And that was a genuine question. And you know, for your uncle that had done all sorts of abuse when drunk. And so, well, yeah, he's dead now. And so I started thinking about you bringing back the dead person. You bringing back the person to life. That it's a healthier relationship to family because, you know, you accept the good, the bad, and the ugly because they're family. 135, the ants are gone asleep. By now, out on those plans of pulque and rice, beyond Pascual and the Cactus Town, Matador Pan, Pazatza Cuaro, Mixed Technique, Poop, Indio, Yo-Yo, Catapult, Mundial, Indian Town and cities. Vendors of Take a Giant Step, Se Ale and Back, Se Maye, Seven Drunk. You were a dick. An obnoxious, angry drunk. Scotch and wash is not hard work. You gave this city your worst. You came here to work, but wandered pulque drunk in the shadow of Narvaez. Still, you left us a start, a spark, desires to kindle dreams. You split the wood. You're a dick. Let's burn a cross by Zora's house, rant against the Jews. Why read you? As October's moon wanes, reinvent this life. Follow the Flor de Muertos. We left you a shot. Sugar skulls. Handel on the Wi-Fi, Dostoevsky, Samuel Pepys. You're a dick, a genius dick, tumbling off your bar stool. Welcome home, Baracho dick. You're our dick.
Nicely done, Tom. Kind of reminds me of the wordier than now roast of Jack Kerouac a couple years ago. That was a fun night. All right, so the next poet that I wanted to welcome here to the stage, part of the literal roof that Studio 620 built. Local musician, powerful poet, social activist, Pedro El Poeta.
This is one of the most amazing communities that I've ever been to. And, you know, thank you for keeping it alive and keeping the arts alive in this community, especially venues like this, like 620. Just gotta put that out there. Thanks for supporting, you know, venues like this and causes like this, because this is what keeps the arts alive. So appreciate all of you guys for being here, man. So it's not about me, it's not about us, it's about this community, all right? When I got asked to do this show, I already knew which poem, which chorus I wanted to do. And I told Jane, where Jane's at? I told her right there, and I say, I already know which one I want to do. I was probably one of the first ones to be like, I know which one I want to do. The poem I'm going to read by Jack Kerouac started with a quote, and he didn't cite his work, and I'm an English teacher, all right? So. Kerouac, you ain't cite your work, all right? So I had to do some research and find out where that came from, because I loved that course. And so I found it, so I'm gonna read his, and then I'm gonna read mine. And I literally picked a different quote from the exact same text, because I read the whole text, and it's a Buddhist text, all right? And it comes from the teachings of the compassionate Buddha. He never quoted it, but he, throughout this entire book, he quotes that very reading, and he never gives it credit. So, Kerouac, rest in peace, but I would have failed you in my English class. I thank him for all his contributions, but he would have failed my English class, all right? So he starts from a quote from that book, and I love what he wrote to that quote. And so I start from a quote from the exact same book, and then I put it into my own perspective. So that's what I have to offer you tonight. 184th Chorus by Jack Kerouac. Men are afraid to forget their own minds, fearing to fall through the void with nothing to which they can cling. They do not know that the void is not really void, but the real realm of the Dharma. End quote. Wow, I thought reading that. When I start falling in that inhuman pit of dizzy death, I'll know, if smart enough to remember, that all the black tunnels of hate or love I'm falling through are really radiant, right eternities for me. Jack Kerouac. Pedro El Poeta. This one's called Umpteenth Chorus. And it starts with a quote from the same book. Ordinary people look outwards, while followers of the way look into their own minds. But the real dharma is to forget both the external and the internal. End quote. Forgetting is the easy part, I thought. It's remembering to forget. I keep forgetting. It's remembering to reject the recognition of what was for what there wasn't. And there was so much that wasn't. It's the vice of voidlessness that feels so visceral. And thus I must remind myself between what's inward and what's out is where the purest void is quiescent. Look that word up. Have a good night. Very important. Thank you.
So I wanted to welcome the next poet to the stage. Like Pedro was involved in last year's reading on the 21st of October that had to be closed doors. Fantastic poet. You can find him in Neptune magazine. I wanted to welcome to the stage Anthony Patterson.
I'm going to start off actually with a tribute to Johnny White. He doesn't know that. So, to the cloudman. I won't lie. I was initially offended. Even though I knew that's not what was intended, he said. I didn't realize you were so tall. I was confused. We had walked together, talked together, my height didn't change. It's been the same since 2008, or maybe 2009. The difference reminds me of a childish Gambino line. Keep all your dreams, keep standing tall. If you are strong, you cannot fall. There is a voice inside us all. So smile when you can, when you can. That song is Stand Tall. And the last time the cloud man saw me, I was slouched, wrestling demons of depression on the couch, hiding inside myself and dreaming to get out. He was right. I wasn't this tall. I am now. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to read the 84th and 85th choruses. It's going to be fun. And then I'm going to finish with something about myself, which actually kind of correlates with Jack Kerouac as well, and some of his travels and experience. So 84. By the light of the silvery moon, I like to spoon to my honey. I'll croon love's dream by the light of the silvery moon. Well, oh, that's the part I don't remember. Honeymoon, croon, love, June. Oh, I don't know. You can get it out of a book if the right words are important. 85th. I love it. Do you really need the right word? Do you really need? Of course. It's all asinine, forms of asininity. Once and for all, Mr. William Carlos Williams. Anyway, an asinine form which will end all asininity. From now on, that's a poem. The poem will end as an ended. This is entitled 1415 South Van Ness. And that's in San Francisco, if anyone's wondering. From ghosts and Rasta hat fires, new stepdad, and being destroyed by predominantly white man's tools. Yes, but there was Tiger. In this neck of the woods, it's just hoods. Rarely seen in a car, no Walkman, just walking. Corner stores, cigarettes, for mom, shopping. Donut shop on the way to, well, everything. Stopping. No Dunkin', this is jelly donut. Cash only. No blurred lines between red and blue. Si se puede, this is the mission. Mama said she grew up in this prison. Some kind of way, this is where I come from. Sourdough skies, foggy goodbyes, no pier imports, but just pier 39s. Clam chowder highs and garlic fried lullabies. Thank you.
All right, we're up to our last reader. Jono Wolfe, welcome to the stage. He's going to do a reading from Tristessa.
But I'm going to read from this in a little bit, but I also wanted to read for you this just blurb from Vasily Kandinsky's Concerning the Spiritual in Art. Literature, music, and art are the first and most sensitive spheres in which the spiritual revolution makes itself felt. They reflect the dark pictures of the present time and show the importance of what at first was only a little point of light noticed by few, and for the great majority non-existent. Perhaps they even grow dark in their turn, but on the other hand, they turn away from the soulless life of the present towards those substances and ideas which give you free scope to the non-material strivings of the soul. Speak! All right, so this is just a little bit of Kerouac prose that you all know is so wild, and him hanging out with some friends of his in Mexico City. El Indio goes out and gets meat sandwiches, and now the cat goes mad, yelling and mewing for some. And El Indio throws her off the bed, but Cat finally gets a bite of meat and raunches at it like a mad little tiger. And I think if she was as big as the ones in the zoo, she'd look at me with big green eyes before eating me. I'm having the fairy tale of Saturday night, having a good time actually, because of the booze and the good cheer and the careless people. Enjoying the little animals, noticing a little Chihuahua pup now meekly waiting for a bite of meat or bread, with her tail curled in, and woe, if she ever inherits the earth, it'll be because of meek. Ears curled back, and even whimpering the little Chihuahua small dog fear cry. Nevertheless, she's been alternately watching us and sleeping all night, and her own reflections on the subject of nirvana and death, and mortals biding time till death, are of a whimpering, high-frequency, terrified, tender variety, and the kind that says, "Leave me alone, I am so delicate," and you leave her alone in her little fragile shell, like the shell of canoes over the ocean deeps. I wish I could communicate to all these creatures and people in the flush of my moonshine good times, the cloudy mystery of the magic milk to be seen in mind's deep imagery, where we learn that everything is nothing, in which case they wouldn't worry anymore except after the instant they think to worry again. All of us trembling in our mortality boots, born to die. Born to die! I would write it on the walls all over America. Dove in wings of peace with her Noah menagerie moonshine eyes, Dog with clitty claws, black and shiny, to die is born, trembles in her purple eyes, her little weak blood vessels down the ribs. Yeah, the ribs of Chihuahua and Tristeza's ribs too. Beautiful ribs, her with her aunts in Chihuahua, also born to die. Beautiful to be ugly, quick to be dead, glad to be sad, mad to be had. And the El Indio death, born to die. The man, so he plies the needle of Saturday night. Every night is Saturday night. And goes wild to wait. What else can he do? The death of crews, the drizzles of religion falling on her burial fields. The grim mouth planted the satin of the earth coffin. I moan to recover all that magic, remembering my own impending death. If only I had the magic self of babyhood when I remembered what it was like before I was born, I wouldn't worry about death now, knowing both to be the same empty dream. But what will the rooster say when it dies and someone hacks a knife at its fragile chin? And sweet hen, she who eats out of Tristeza's paw a globule of beer, her beak miffling like the human lips to churn up the milk of the beer. When she dies, sweet hen, Tristeza, who loves her, will save her lucky bone and wrap it in red thread and keep it in her belongings. Nevertheless, sweet mother hen of our ark of Noah night, she the golden purveyor and reaches so far back you can't find the egg that prompted her outward through the first original shell. They'll hack and whack at her tail with the hacksaws and make mincemeat out of her, that you run through an iron grinder turning the handle, and would you wonder why she trembles from fear of punishment too? And the death of the cat, little dead rat in the gutter with twisted yick face. I wish I could communicate to all their combined fears of death, the teaching that I have heard from ages of old, that recompenses all that pain with soft reward of perfect silent love, abiding up and down and in and out, everywhere, past, present, and future, in the void unknown, where nothing happens and all simply is what it is. But they know that themselves, beast and jackal and love woman, and my teaching of old is indeed so old, they've heard it long ago before my time. I become depressed, and I gotta go home. Every one of us born to die.
Thank you, Jono. Thank everybody for being here tonight. This has been a really fantastic. You guys made this happen, not the UPS store, all right? So this has been like really special that we've been able to get all these folks under one roof, that we've been able to honor Kerouac on his death day in a unique way and kind of make a cultural bridge. So, you know, join us again in March when we're having some more events. We're going to do a raffle prize drawing here, but I just wanted to thank you, Johnny White, for playing music.